Support for this show comes from Lead Quizzes. Lead Quizzes helps you easily set up high-converting quizzes to capture and qualify leads for your business. Visit leadquizzes.com/podcast to get a 14-day free trial today.
But ultimately, people would like one or two of the coffees in this box because people have such drastically different coffee preferences, whether they know it or not. And, you're paying $18 and you only like one or two of these coffees. At that point, it just doesn't make sense and it becomes a novelty. You just do it for fun, experience it, and then cancel. So our churn was just outrageous. Our churn was around 18 to 19% at that time, which just is not a sustainable business.
Which means you have all your customers gone in about 5 months.
Yeah.
From Lead Quizzes, it's Journey to Seven Figures, a show about entrepreneurs and the stories behind how they grew their business to 7 figures and beyond. We cover the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the lessons they learned along the way. Welcome back to Journey to Seven Figures. Today I'm interviewing Samantha Meis, co-founder of MistoBox. MistoBox is a coffee subscription business that helps you discover great artisan coffee roasters around the country. They officially launched in 2012 with the Kickstarter project. They appeared on Shark Tank where they made a deal with Mark Cuban. They've shipped over 1 million cups of coffee. And last year, they generated over $2.7 million in sales. I'm very excited to interview Samantha today and learn from her journey. Samantha, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Awesome. All right. I'm very excited to have you on today. So you guys started back in 2012. Maybe let's just start with where you guys came up with the idea and how you guys got things off the ground.
Yeah, MistoBox actually started as a school project at the University of Arizona. I partnered up with my friend who I met studying abroad, Connor Riley, and they basically tasked us with coming up with a business idea. And at the time, Birchbox, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's a cosmetic subscription service, was just getting off the ground and showing a ton of promise. And this was free subscription box craze. And so we identified this model as something that looked like it could really work. So we basically listed the characteristics of cosmetics that made Birchbox successful. And so, for instance, it's a consumable product. It's lightweight and easily shippable. And we basically just looked at all of the industries that we could think of. And it's so funny because there were some that we thought of that would never work, and they're uber successful now. And so we decided that coffee would be the best fit. However, Connor and I had absolutely no experience in coffee, so a big learning process as we progressed through this program at the University of Arizona. We kind of went into it knowing that we wanted to launch the business, so we were very serious about it throughout the entire experience.
Okay, very cool. So you guys did this as students. You picked a really good recurring revenue business model. So you guys do this as a school project, and then what happens next? You guys do the Kickstarter project while you're in school?
Yeah, while we're, our last semester in school, we ran this Kickstarter project and we raised about $15,000, I think. And at the time, that was a fortune for us. And it was right when Kickstarter had just started, essentially. And so, there weren't these $1 million Kickstarter campaigns. And so we saw it as a huge success. And between that $15,000 and $15,000 more that we each contributed, we started the business with $30,000, which looking back now, that is absolutely nothing. And we feel so fortunate we were able to find this model that was able to, support this business with such a small contribution on the front end.
Yeah, that's amazing. I started my business as a service business, which is much easier, but products usually take a lot of investment and marketing and that kind of thing. So that's pretty amazing. So you guys did this Kickstarter project, and then what did you guys do next? How did you first launch the program, and how did you guys maybe get your first 100 customers or so?
Yeah, the first 100 customer challenge was really solved by Kickstarter. And I really do advocate for people to do Kickstarter pre-order type things when it comes to product-based businesses. For us, it would have been so challenging to achieve that 100 customer mark without that. And after that, we basically just promoted through our email list. Also at this time, the deal of the day business model was massive. And so we did a couple deals a day. And then Shark Tank approached our business program and asked if there were any good teams for the show. And they luckily submitted our team, our company. And from there, we went through this whole Shark Tank process.
Okay, awesome. So before we get into Shark Tank real quick, was there anything special you guys did to like kind of advertise and promote your Kickstarter program, or was that just hustle and friends and family and that kind of thing?
We legitimately, our launch day was the day of graduation, and we legitimately walked around all of our graduation parties and asked people to contribute. So there was definitely a lot of friends and family. And we also reached out to different coffee blogs and asked them basically to promote our Kickstarter in exchange for free coffee. And it's amazing what people will do for free coffee.
Awesome. So that's a pretty good idea. Okay. So you guys do this Kickstarter program, you guys raise some money, and then Shark Tank happened. So walk me through like what the experience was like with that and ultimately how it's worked with signing up Mark Cuban.
Yeah, we basically got one foot in the door through our business program. And then we went through the whole application selections process like everyone else. And it was very intense. And we ultimately filmed the show only a few months after starting the business. And so one of my biggest pieces of advice for anyone that's going to go on Shark Tank, do whatever you can to make a compelling case for your business. So doing those deal of the day type things were really big for us because we could say, we have this many customers in this amount of time, ultimately got selected, got on the show, did a deal with Mark. And after the show, you're not sure if your episode is going to air. So you've done this deal with Mark, but you don't know if you're going to get this big influx of traffic. So it's just kind of a waiting game. And we ultimately got aired. And at the time that we were on the show, this was season 4, there were 7 million live viewers. And you think backwards, you're like, okay, 7 million viewers, about this many will come to my website, about this many will convert. And 9 times out of 10, it is always more or less than you think it is going to be. And we talked to a lot of Shark Tank companies before we went on, and they set our expectations pretty correctly. So we were fine going into that, but we were faced with this question as we were waiting. Do we put our efforts into just growing the business, starting the business now, or do we put our efforts into preparing for this massive influx of traffic? So we, kind of rolled the dice, and we're pretty confident we would get aired. So our relationship with Mark Cuban at this point going forward is a really positive one. And, we talk to him monthly, and he gives great advice. And I'd say the best benefit that we received from our relationship with him is through introductions to people who can really help us.
Okay, awesome. So when you mentioned the deal of the day, is that what you were doing when you were reaching out to these bloggers and getting them to promote for you guys?
Yeah, we did do a lot of that. There was this website called Daily Candy that, all of those deal of the day websites have since gone under, but, it was like a get one free type situation to their mailing list. And I do think a really positive thing to do to gain traction very early on is to, if you have the budget, to offer some deals and find websites that have a larger audience than you do. And at the very least, you'll get some new customers, and from those customers, you'll get some feedback, and then you can just kind of go from there.
Perfect. Okay, so what was your revenue before you went on Shark Tank?
Oh my gosh, that's a really good question. Maybe $30,000.
Okay.
$50,000, something like that.
And then after you guys launch, you get these 7 million viewers of the show. You said you kind of tapered your expectations. How much traffic or how much sales did you guys get from just being on that show?
Just, the following days, probably got $50,000 in sales, which is amazing at that time. We doubled our sales. But when you think backwards from 7 million, your expectation might be a little higher than that. And there certainly are companies that are better suited for Shark Tank that have performed much better. But when it comes to us, when you think of the Shark Tank demographic, how many people are willing to spend $18 on a coffee for that demographic? And so at the time, that was our only pricing option. We have different pricing options now. So we definitely got a lot of interest, and we were able to leverage that Shark Tank traffic in a lot of different ways. We got an update. Basically, if you are a successful company after the show. They approach you to do an update on the show. And it's just a short little segment in the middle of the show. And we were much more successful with that update because at that time, we had changed a lot of things about the business.
Sure.
So overall, the Shark Tank experience has been incredibly amazing for us.
Awesome. So when you guys got that 50K, was that like 50,000 in recurring or maybe a little bit less than that in recurring?
It was 50,000 recurring.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So you guys went on Shark Tank and then you had this huge spike in like sales. What was like kind of the next steps that you guys ran into? Was it some major problems that you had, or did you just keep pushing on like the growth that you had from Shark Tank?
Yeah, you're totally right. We had this massive spike, right? And so now we have all of these customers that are getting this product that ultimately we realized that people didn't like. When we first started the business, it was a sampler pack of coffee. So there were 4 different coffees, and they were very different coffees that people would be able to, get variety and try these samples.
Mm-hmm.
When we did all of our research going into this business, that's what people said that they wanted. And so that's what we did. But ultimately, people would like 1 or 2 of the coffees in this box because people have such drastically different coffee preferences, whether they know it or not. And, you're paying $18 and you only like 1 or 2 of these coffees. At that point, it just doesn't make sense and it becomes a novelty. You just do it for fun, experience it, and then cancel. So our churn was just outrageous. Our churn was around 18 to 19% at that time, which just is not a sustainable business.
Which means like you have all your customers gone in like about 5 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, at the time, we're still getting new customers, right? So that like lengthens our runway, but it's happening very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And so it became extremely obvious to us that we needed to make a difference and that we need to focus on people's actual behavior instead of what they say that they want, which at the time we were naive and that was counterintuitive. And so it took us almost a year to solve this problem because we were such a small team. There were 3 of us. And what we ultimately did is we took this feedback that people only like 1 or 2 of these coffees, and we didn't have this experience in the coffee industry or know anything about coffee. So we didn't fully understand how different people's preferences were until this time. So we just completely scrapped the samples and we created a subscription with a 12-ounce bag of coffee that's personalized to your preferences. Basically answer some questions when you sign up, and we're able to send you coffee that you are actually going to like every time, and also at a frequency at which you need it. So, before it was just a monthly box, but that meant people had to go out and buy more coffee because that wouldn't last them in a month. So we added a frequency component. And so people could set it to be where, as soon as they're about to run out, they get another bag. And almost immediately, churn was cut in half. We, converted all of the people that were on the 4 sample boxes, and we anticipated people being really upset, canceling, and ultimately only a handful of people canceled, and everyone was very happy. So, lesson learned, look at the behavior of customers instead of what they say they want. Awesome.
So, Samantha, how did you guys necessarily do that? Because you said at first people told you what they wanted, but it wasn't actually what they wanted, which was reflected in having 18, 19% churn. So did you start calling people up, or how did you get feedback where you decided let's switch down to 1 coffee, maybe put them on a queue, and then change up the frequency as well?
I can't tell you how many customers I legitimately called up on the phone. And we did a ton of surveys. We did some tests and actually sending people these 12-ounce bags of coffee and seeing what their feedback was. That's one of the things I've been super proud of with MistoBox is that we are always really tapped into the customer experience, what the customer wants, always talking to our customers, surveying customers. Still to this day, it's a really important part of our business.
Okay, awesome. So you guys started testing this ahead of time, or you just did it to a small sample size to see if they liked it and you were getting positive results, so you decided to do it for everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
And there was some urgency here. We were going to fail very soon if we didn't make a change. And so we just came up with the best change we could as fast as we could and launched it and hoped for the best.
Awesome. Okay. So you guys cut your churn in half. Do you remember kind of where that took you revenue wise, when you made this switch from the 4 sample box to the single one?
Yes. Our first year, I think we had about $75,000 $1,000 in revenue. And our second year, when we implemented this change, we had 270, and the year after that, we had 750.
Wow, awesome. So you guys really started taking off.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. We'll get back to the show in a minute, but first a quick thanks to our sponsor, Lead Quizzes. If you want to grow your business to 7 figures and beyond, you must learn how to generate leads predictably. When I first started my business, lead generation felt like riding a roller coaster. I would have huge sales months and then months with nothing. This happened because I relied solely on referrals and networking to grow my business. Predicting growth and investing in the future were frightening because I didn't have control over my lead generation. That was before we created Lead Quizzes. Now I predictably generate leads in my sleep and have stopped worrying about where the next sale will come from. Top marketers like Neil Patel and Lewis House have used Lead Quizzes to increase their lead capture by up to 500%. Think about it. Quizzes are fun, engaging, and you offer personalized feedback in exchange for your quiz taker's contact information. Lead Quizzes is a software that allows you to set up high-converting quizzes quickly without having to hire an expensive programmer. In fact, our users have generated over 3 million leads for their businesses. Take control of your lead generation today and start your 14-day free trial by going to leadquizzes.com/podcast. So when you guys did this, you said you got to 270 after you implemented that?
Yes.
Okay, so what were some of the things that either you did really well or things that you had to overcome to get from 270 to like that 750 in the third year?
I would say one of the major things is that we had to focus on the customer experience. And we're just such a small team. We're trying to start this business. And there were huge gaping holes where it's like, if you were a customer, this would really suck. And so churn was still high and higher than we would like. And as a subscription business, retention is a function of growth. So the longer a customer stays around and is a part of your customer base, the faster your base is going to grow. And there is, this wisdom that it is 5 to 9 times cheaper to keep a customer than to acquire one. And the other thing that is really important with focusing on the customer experience for us was that our main source of growth, even to this day, is referrals. And I always tell my team this, make it so good that people want to talk about it and tell their friends. So we focus on different areas of the business to make it exceptional. And we give them a path in order to share it with their friends. So we have incentivized referrals, and that allows people to give $10 of credit to MistoBox and get $10 when their friend signs up. And when it comes to really making it so good that people want to talk about it, it all comes down to expectations. And so the key is setting realistic expectations for your customers and then way overperforming. So say that, for instance, customer service is one of the areas that we focused on that really, when we first started, needed some serious help. That was one of the areas. And so if I know that at maximum it's going to take me 2 hours, let's say, to respond to a customer request, the messaging on the website, I'm not going to say, we'll get back to you right away, because then you're underperforming. What I'm going to say on the website is, we'll get back to you in 5 hours. So when you get back in those 2 hours, customers will be like, wow, what an amazing experience. That's just a silly example, but focusing on the customer experience was just huge for us.
Okay, so under promise and over deliver. That's awesome. All right, so some of those things, customer experience, helped you guys grow and get to 750, and obviously having a lower churn means you guys are building your customer base. So besides referrals, were there any other main marketing channels that you guys use, like email or paid traffic, to be able to continue to drive new signups?
Yeah, the other two main areas that we focused on were email and press. So when it comes to emails, it's all about building that email base, right? And for us, the most successful way that we have been able to do that is through partnered giveaways. We have found companies that have similar demographic in terms of customers that we do, and we do these partnered giveaways and collect emails through that. And we're very quickly able to grow our email list to 100,000 emails. And when it comes to actually harvesting those emails in terms of conversion, it's really important that you just focus on providing value in these emails. And that was a huge channel for us. And the other one that I mentioned was press. And I will say we had the advantage of being able to leverage our Shark Tank appearance when it came to approaching these press outlets. However, it's just, you got to find your story. What makes you unique? What makes your company unique? Find that story and then reach out to the press that is most aligned. So when we first started, we basically cast a wide net that was very impersonal. And we found that focusing on a smaller number of high impact and aligned press outlets has been way more effective for us. And, we've been on Good Morning America, The View, and, those are obviously huge, amazing TV shows. But there are also things that you can look at that have high volume traffic that, you may not have thought would be super successful without really looking closely at the demographic. For instance, we got to publish in a story on BuzzFeed, and I jokingly posted to my Facebook wall, "Dreams do come true." We got posted to BuzzFeed as a joke because I just thought it was kind of silly. Ultimately, it was one of our largest traffic sources that converted so well. And this was maybe 3 years ago, and we still get thousands of dollars every month to this day from that article. And so you just really have to understand your demographic and then approach those in a very, very personal way.
Okay, awesome. So you guys started identifying this press, and then what did you do? So you reached out to them, and what was like kind of the angle you were pitching to get featured with these people?
Yeah, and it varied. In some cases, it was specific to holiday gifting. I mean, that's been massive for us. It just, MistoBox makes a great gift, and so people want to write about it. But in other cases, for instance, on BuzzFeed, we found the correct contact. We basically went through all of the BuzzFeed articles, found the most likely writer, contributor to write about us based on their articles. And then we essentially just guessed their email over and over again until it landed based on their first and last name. And we provided them with a storyline for, these are the best coffee subscriptions. And this is where our subscription falls within that. And so providing them a storyline is also extremely helpful.
Awesome. Those are great tips. I would love to ask a little bit more about the email too. So you guys said you found these partner giveaways and you collected emails. So what did you do? Was it the same thing? You like cold contacted these different blogs and then said, we'd like to offer this to your subscribers. And then you created a landing page where you collect their email?
Yeah. So back in the day, when we first started this, we had to create the landing page, and it was pretty labor intensive. And we basically created a wish list of all of the companies that had products that looked like they would be great for our demographic. And then we'd photograph the products, and then both of our companies would promote the giveaway to their mailing list. An example of this is Mantry, which was a food subscription service for men. And it was a very successful campaign for us. And then after that, we both have rights to all of the emails that were shared through this. And we would go our separate ways and market to these lists independently. More recently, there is a website called Dojo Mojo, and it has really taken the pain out of all of this. This is like a plug for them, but I'm not meaning it to be. It's just really that great of a service. You basically, they have this whole database of companies that want to do these partnered giveaways, and it lists the size of their list and how interactive people are with their list. And basically, you can approach each other and message each other through this platform. And this platform creates landing pages for you and makes it like incredibly simple in order to shoot this. So I would honestly highly recommend that service because we were able to get a ton of emails through that have really converted for us.
That's awesome. And so you said like you really focus on the value in the email. So what does that mean for you guys? How do you guys really provide value and then put offers in front of people?
When it comes to specialty coffee and the kinds of coffee that we sell, it really comes down to the education component because not everyone on these email lists are going to understand the value of really good coffee. And so we basically take them through an educational series that, this is how you should brew coffee. This is why fresh coffee is the best coffee, and get them to the point that they understand like, okay, maybe the coffee that I'm already drinking could be way better. and I could be enjoying my morning significantly more than I already am if I had better coffee. So after this series of educational content, we essentially ask them to subscribe and give them a discount to incentivize them to do so.
Awesome. So you guys gave discounts for first-time customers?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So between like your third year when you guys were at like 750,000, then making it to 2.7 million last year, like what were some of the other things maybe that you did that helped get you guys there?
We honestly have really just focused on those things since day one. And we've been extremely fortunate that those things have carried us to where we are. We have not done any paid advertising, which is an opportunity we still have to go after, which is exciting because there's obviously a lot of growth potential there. Again, like I said, hiring these people with more expertise opened myself up and my co-founder up to working on more high value things. So we can, the main thing that we focus on is providing more value for our customers. And when we do that, they tell their customers more and people want to write about us more. It's maybe not a sexy way to approach growth, but it's really been working for us.
Okay, awesome. And then one other thing that I wanted to ask you about, Samantha, is you mentioned like pricing. You guys had some thin margins when you guys started. So how did you guys like test or figure out what the best pricing was?
Yeah, for us, it's kind of tough. We partner with over 50 different artisan coffee roasters, and we deliver this coffee to our many thousands of customers. And so we are essentially a middleman. And it's tough to be a middleman when it comes to making the margin that you need in order to sustain your business and grow. And we discovered through creating lots of different financial models that we just weren't making enough on every coffee. And if we didn't change that, it was going to be to the serious detriment of the business. So we decided, okay, we need to raise our prices. However, we don't want conversion to drop off. We need to figure out a way to do this creatively. We knew we needed to raise prices $1 for it to make sense for us as a business. And there's this book called Predictably Irrational by Dan Ariely, and he talks about the concept of a price anchor. And basically, anyone is willing to pay for anything. And so for us, at that time, we had the price of the coffee and the price of the shipping lumped in together. And so people that maybe aren't as familiar with specialty coffee, their price anchor is not $20, which is what we were charging. The price anchor was much lower than that. And so, immediately, this is just too expensive. Adding another dollar on that was not going to be good. So what we essentially did was split out the price of the coffee and the price of the shipping. So when somebody approaches a $15 coffee, that's much more aligned with their price anchor. And they're like, okay, yes, that makes sense to me. And on the other hand, when it comes to shipping, $5 shipping minus Amazon is pretty standard and fits within people's price anchor. And so we were able to capitalize on that. And essentially, we launched these two things in conjunction, splitting the pricing and adding $1 to the price. And our conversion rate actually increased. And so when it comes to pricing, it's all about perception. And being able to package it in a creative way is what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's a great story. That's really cool. All right. So we're getting near the end of our episode. Samantha, I'd love to ask you a couple quick rapid fire questions. So looking back, you guys have been in business since 2012. So about 6 years now. If you had to look back and say, like, what's the one biggest thing that you guys did or the thing that had the biggest impact on your growth, what would you say that would be?
I would say it is focusing on the customer experience, like I had mentioned before.
Okay. And what do you feel like has been an area that you personally had to evolve or grow in to grow your business?
Oh, man. I would say managing the team and directing vision. I never had a real job, really, so I didn't have good managers to learn from. And it took me some time to figure it out. And so I would say in order to keep the company moving forward at a quick pace, it really requires some good management. So I really had to grow in that area.
Were there any like books or resources that you like leaned on, or how did you get better at it?
Yeah, the Harvard Business School review books are really amazing. They show real world examples, and I found those incredibly useful. And I mean, just Googling, really. And also relying on different mentors that I've had. I've been extremely lucky to have some amazing mentorship that has guided me in the right direction.
Awesome. Okay. And then quickly, like you guys have done this all as like a remote team. Is there any strategies that you would recommend for someone to successfully run a remote team?
Oh, definitely. I mean, that has also been a learning lesson. When we first started the business, we were not remote. And about 2 years into it, we decided, hey, we don't even need an office. We can totally do this without having that overhead. And so it's all about having the right tool. First of all, we use Slack and Asana. We have an internal blog, and those things are essentially critical. Extremely important to have guidelines for people. If you need to get in touch with someone in this amount of time, this is how you reach out to them. Having those protocols in place so it's consistent across the team. And finally, maybe the most important thing is that you have to hire the right people. They have to be people that are self-motivated, that can stay on track without needing a significant amount of oversight, and that can function socially in a way that doesn't require them to be around people 24/7.
Some of those are great tips. Okay, Samantha, if you could go back in time and start over, what would you tell yourself?
Oh my gosh, I would tell myself it's all going to be okay. I mean, even if the business had failed, it's all going to be okay. I may have lost some years of my life running this business. It's challenging. It's extremely stressful. And I have worked so many weeks where I'm working 100-hour weeks. I haven't done that in some time. I've learned from those lessons, but it really does come down to the more you work doesn't necessarily mean the greater output that you're going to have. You should stay well rested. You should maintain some balance in your life in order to actually achieve the best result.
Awesome. All right. Well, Samantha, this has been a great interview. I really appreciate you coming on with us. Where can people learn more about MistoBox or connect with you?
People can learn more about MistoBox at MistoBox.com, and people can connect with me at SamanthaMeis.com.
Awesome. All right. Well, Samantha, thanks so much for coming on. We'll definitely throw that stuff in the show notes. And yeah, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Jeremy. This is so fun.
Thanks again for listening to our show this week. If you want to find out more about Samantha and the lessons she shared today or read our show notes, visit leadquizzes.com/15. If you'd like to start generating more leads for your business and get a free trial to Lead Quizzes, go to leadquizzes.com/podcast. Next week, I'll be interviewing Anthony Sarandria on how he grew Pocket Your Dollars to $500,000 a month in just 2 years. Please subscribe to our show so you don't miss this next episode. I'm Jeremy Ellens, and you've been listening to Journey to Seven Figures.